Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. It's amazing when companies do this crap. It's a 1% difference, and they've transformed a company guy to a regular employee. We'll tell you more right after a short pause. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Stop working so hard? Don't mind if I do. The background. I work in a corporate setting on a mixed team. The team's made up of a few different roles, each with their own reporting structure. I'm the only person reporting up to my manager on my team. I'm pretty much on my own for the day-to-day. The story. For the first half of last year, I worked for a senior manager. That'll be his name. On a mixed team. Some people on that team were rock stars, others were not. I've always been a go-getter, perfectionist kind of person, so on that team, I didn't let things slip through the cracks, which meant that sometimes, often, I did things beyond my specific role. Halfway through last year, I moved to a new team and thus reported to Awesome Manager for the second half. Again, I'm the only one for my role on this new team. Cue the new year, and with it, performance reviews. This is the one time outside of promotion that you can get a raise. I've busted my butt on the new team, and everyone I work with has shown appreciation. And this company actually did well last year, so funds are not a problem. Awesome Manager is the one conducting my review, and they asked Senior Manager for feedback since I did report to him for the first half. Awesome Manager says I'm doing an amazing job, keep it up, here are some suggestions. A Senior VP of the company loves showing off something I made. Senior Manager's notes say to not pick up every piece, allow others to fail sometimes so that they can grow and learn and better themselves. Then Awesome Manager informs me that the average raise percentage is 3%. Awesome Manager tells me they recommended I get a 4% raise. They then tell me all the senior managers met for the whole organization to coordinate, and coming out of the meeting, I am getting 3%. Awesome Manager cannot get a straight answer why my raise was decreased. So since Senior Manager was part of that meeting where they cut down my raise, I follow his direction, take on less. I've cut back to okay employee work ethic and am letting others fail and grow. Since I'm alone in my role for the team, an Awesome Manager just got moved elsewhere. I have another new manager. No one can call me out. In the meantime, I'm spending that extra energy prepping my resume for more reasons than just this. A couple of clarifications. Yes, the average raise really just keeps up with inflation. Awesome Manager did not promise me the higher percentage. They explained the whole story in that same meeting, basically giving me a peek behind the curtain, and I don't think Senior Manager was malicious. He just didn't fight hard enough for me, and he's the one that did have a say. And our second story. The best breath I ever took. So I went to my old job today to handle some business. Not related to work at all, because they are the closest place I could go to deal with what needed to be done. I walk in and handle my business, chatting with the only ex-coworker I still talk to. My old manager comes out when she hears I'm there and greets me in her sickeningly sweet voice that's so fake it hurts. Now, before I share the conversation, here's some backstory. The company provides handouts, flyers, and signage for all sales and promotions. However, once my manager found how skilled I am in design, she would have me create personalized promotional materials for our store. Not to toot my own horn too much, but they were quite successful. To make everyone's life easier, I created multiple files that needed extremely simple edits that could be used for just about any occasion, so if I was not in when they were needed, anyone could make the changes. I also made files for personal touches like thank you to customers for using our services that were made for weddings, birthdays, funerals, etc. All in, I'd made roughly 50 files for these uses. They were my personal creations that were in no way tied to the company, and in truth, I believe the company forbade stores from doing such things since they gave us promotional materials approved for use. I was never given any credit for my work and was even told to my face during my review that netted me a lovely 1% raise, company average was 5%, that my work was nothing that she or someone else couldn't have done, so it didn't justify a raise. So here's the conversation as it transpired. Manager will be known as K. K. Hey, OP, long time no see. Me. Hi. Yes, it's been a while. Okay, well, I was going to call you, but I didn't want to get you in trouble at your new job. I had a question for you. At this point, I'm rolling my eyes and finally fully turn to face her. Okay, remember all those files you made for sales and such? Well, we can't find them on the computer. You wanted to use them for such and such sale. What folder did you put them in? Q, huge smile under my mask. Me, well, as I created those files, when I left, I deleted everything that was mine from the machine. Okay, why would you delete them since we use them all the time? Me, you made it quite clear that my work was unappreciated and nothing I did was special. As you felt that way, I didn't think you needed my files for use since it was apparently something that anyone could do. Okay, this is a serious problem. You deleted our work files without permission. Me, actually, I deleted my files. I created every last one of them. Not one was created by the company, nor were they approved for use by anyone higher than you. There's nothing wrong with me deleting anything that was made by me for my personal use. Besides, there was nothing that you or anyone else couldn't produce, right? Stunned silence. Me, however, if you want those files, I can give you my designer rate for each one and you can submit them as a store expense. I'll be happy to recreate them for you once I have a paid invoice for the work. You have my number, so let me know. I said SYL to my coworker and walked out. The breath of fresh air never felt more satisfying as the door closed behind me. But how cool would it be to have fireworks while going out? Simply epic. And our last story. Break the law? Sure thing, boss. Sign here, please. I used to work as a spare parts estimator for a fairly niche industry. My job was essentially to work out what parts of our main product the customer wanted, find out how much it would cost us to make, add a little markup, and send them a quote. My boss was pretty strict on traceability, so everything needed to be recorded, including why a certain markup had been applied to a particular product. Normal value of these quotes is somewhere between £200 and a few $100,000. Very rarely do we get orders for anything more than that. Once or twice a decade in my experience. A request for quotation landed on my desk when I was WFH during COVID, and it was a biggie. Just looking at the list of parts the customer wanted, this was going to be an absolute killer. Over £1 million all by itself. I was told by the sales guy that if this one went well, there was another to follow of an even bigger size, ultimately looking at $10 million over the next 4 years. So I set to work. Normally I can do 5 or 6 of these quotes in a day, but this one took me 6 weeks to put together. I was in constant contact with 20+ vendors getting specifications, technical details, prices, and lead times for over 400 items. Finally, my masterpiece was complete. Then came the snag. Sales guy then says that because of the country this customer's in, they need to have 4 or more quotes in from different customers in order to get it cleared by their government. Some anti-corruption policy that had been instituted. We were the OEM of the product, and there's nowhere else on the planet they could get these parts from, so we'd have to work through third parties just to get it done, and he knew just the guy. In comes a one-man band with a dodgy-looking entry at company's house to save the day. Sales guy and him go way back, so he was going to be the preferential supplier. I was asked to do the normal quote to him, then to bump the prices up by 30% and send that to 3 other companies who've been asking about it so they would absolutely not get the contract with the end user. I argued the point, saying that the whole purpose of the anti-corruption policy is to prevent situations exactly like this, but I was overruled. The COO of the company now tells me to just do it over a phone call, at which point I request that in writing before I go ahead and do it. Fast forward 2 years, and there's still no order been placed. Then I find out through a different sales guy that the one-man band has been put on a blacklist by this country's government over this project. The other 3 companies have been turned down, and the end user is asking other companies to come in and take our product out and replace it with their own. A huge investigation is called for by senior management. My quote is ripped to pieces and examined in a microscopic detail. And the question gets asked, why did you give different prices to these other 3 when you knew it was all due to anti-corruption? Why did you give different prices to these other 3 when you knew it was all to do with anti-corruption? We should fire you. That's millions of pounds of order you've lost us. Out comes the email from my little black book on the desk. It goes, everyone suddenly gets very quiet, and the COO starts packing his desk in a box the next week. And the moral of the story is if someone tells you to do something borderline illegal, make sure to get it in writing. Edit. For those asking about the legality of what I did, because all of the third parties were outside of the country where the anti-corruption policy was in place, I didn't personally break any laws. Whilst the anti-corruption policies are in place for the end user, the worst the government can do is put us on a blacklist so all of our bids in the future are either refused outright or looked at in far more detail than others might be. I did investigate this at the time, and if there were going to be any implications on me that my company wouldn't have been responsible for, it would have been a flat no. I was acting against the intention of the policy, but not expressly breaking it. Do not do something illegal just because your boss told you to. The issue as far as the company was concerned was the lost millions in revenue and the damage to their reputation. The end user is a huge company with contacts and is in a reasonably close-knit industry. People talk. They ultimately wanted a scapegoat to parade in front of the board to explain why the multi-million-pound deal they'd all been talking about for the last 2 years had suddenly vanished. I did also look at OEM angle at the time, but because we aren't the only company who make this type of product, it didn't appear to be possible to use this as an exception. The reasoning behind that, the option existed to replace our system with the competitors. Edit 2. After posting this, I did a bit of research into the final customer, and their VP of Finance did some fairly well-publicized jail time a few years back for buying an oil rig for the company at a suspiciously low price. So there was no way we would have been able to convince the government that everything was above board with a direct sale. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.